Hello everyone, my name is David. Today we are going to explain a movie named Garudan, released in 2023. So sit with some popcorns, relax, and enjoy this movie. At the beginning of the movie, we see a man named Salam. Salam is partying with his friends at night when he suddenly remembers that he may have forgotten to switch off the main switch at the construction site. He immediately rushes there with his friends. On the other side, we see a scene from St. Peter's College. Here, cultural festivals are being practiced. After practice, a girl named Teresa leaves for home. Her friends try to stop her for a bit more practice, but she says her dad is alone at home, waiting for her, and she also needs to cook dinner for him. Now, she sets off alone in the rain at night. Suddenly, as she walks a little further, someone kidnaps her. Salam arrives at the construction site with his men, but finds that the main switch was already off. As he begins to leave, he hears someone crying nearby. Approaching cautiously, he discovers a man raping a girl. As soon as Salam is seen, the man flees from the scene. Due to the darkness, Salam can only catch a glimpse of his face, realizing it's not just any girl, but Teresa. Salam and his men then rush Teresa to the hospital. On the other side, Professor Nishant at the college is partying with his colleagues when the college warden informs them that Teresa, a girl from their college, has been kidnapped and raped and is hospitalized. In a little while, this matter spreads all around. The media, police, everyone arrives. The case falls into the hands of DCP Harish Madhav. Doctor informs DCP that it's actually a case of rape, and there was an attempt to strangle the victim with a chain, possibly leaving her in a coma. Meanwhile, Teresa's father arrives and breaks down upon seeing her condition. In the next scene, we see Salam at the police station, giving his statement. He says that although he was somewhat drunk, he did get a decent look at her face and would recognize her if he saw her again. The police refused to disclose what he said about her drinking. Now, DCP Harish starts his investigation in his own way, while Salam gets a blurry sketch made of her. Doctor presents some evidence to DCP Harish, including a chain left by the rapist at the crime scene and semen samples found in Teresa's body. Statements are taken from all of Teresa's friends, professors, and other acquaintances, but no clues are found. Meanwhile, doctors raise their hands as Teresa falls completely into a coma, living only on life support. Now, 7 months pass without the protests ceasing, and the police are unable to take action. Teresa remains in a coma. Trust in the media from the police diminishes, and questions are raised. The case is eventually handed over to the CBI. DCP Harish, feeling defeated, considers one last effort. He sends the semen found in Teresa's body to numerous agencies. These agencies maintain DNA databases of millions of people. Eventually, a match is found with one man's DNA likely from the semen sample. In Hyderabad, there's a man named Sudev who meets with the DCP. Sudev informs him that although his DNA matches the semen found at the crime scene, he was actually in Hyderabad, not Kerala, on the day of the crime. Furthermore, Sudev has never been to Kerala. He provides proof of his whereabouts to the DCP. The DCP then asks him if he has any close blood relatives living in Kerala. Sudev mentions that his paternal uncle's family resides there, but he is not in contact with them. Sudev gives his address to the DCP. Here, the DCP shows Professor Nishant's face to Salam, who confirms that he saw him committing the crime on that day, and that Sudev is indeed his distant blood relative, hence their DNA matches. For final confirmation, the DCP arranges for Salam's personal items to be retrieved from Professor Nishant's house by his maid, which are sent to the lab for DNA matching with the semen sample. Meanwhile, the DCP gathers statements from Nishant's other colleagues regarding the incident day, learning that although Nishant was initially partying with his peers at the college, he stepped out for beer for about half an hour. The lab also confirms that the DNA extracted from Nishant's personal items, specifically his hair, perfectly matches the DNA from the semen sample, conclusively identifying Professor Nishant as the main culprit. A case is being fought by Advocate Thomas on behalf of Teresa from the police. Now, Nishant is presented in court where all evidence is against him. Colleagues testify that Nishant was outside for an hour, but Salam claims he saw him committing the rape. Furthermore, according to lab tests, the semen also matches Professor Nishant's. Now he is proven guilty. There is significant public outrage, and the court convicts him, sentencing him to 7 years in prison. Nishant breaks down crying, insisting he was framed and could never commit such a crime. His wife also realizes he is guilty and leaves him. Now the story moves forward 7 years later. Teresa's father wakes up in the morning and calls out to Teresa to join them jogging, but Teresa doesn't respond. So her father tells her not to worry, go back to sleep, and I'll wake you up when I return from jogging. And they leave. Upon returning, Teresa's father shouts loudly at Teresa, but Teresa doesn't respond. Her father becomes worried. Just then, 2 strangers arrive and forcefully administer an injection. It is revealed that Teresa's father has Alzheimer's, so he is gradually forgetting things. In reality, Teresa is still hospitalized and has been in a coma for 7 years. The 2 individuals were giving him injections as part of his treatment. The scene shifts. We see DCP Harish, who is out for jogging. Suddenly, some thugs approach him. These thugs are actually associated with a man named Matthew, who is a minister there. DCP Harish is fighting a court case against Minister Matthew, which is why these thugs have come to threaten him. However, the threats do not faze DCP Harish. In the next scene, we see Professor Nishant being released from jail after completing his sentence. Meanwhile, DCP Harish is also set to retire in the next 2 days. Nishant first visits his friend Saji. Saji is shocked to see him. Just then, Saji's wife and daughter arrive. Saji's wife turns away upon seeing Nishant. Nishant asks Saji for his wife and daughter's new address and heads there. However, his wife also refuses to recognize him and leaves without acknowledging him. Now, Nishant begins to reside in some lodge. The next day, Nishant goes to see Teresa and leaves a bouquet there. When Teresa's father learns that Nishant had come to see his daughter, who was raped by him, he becomes very angry and calls DCP Harish in anger to reveal everything. Meanwhile, DCP Harish presents evidence against the minister in court, resulting in the minister being proven guilty. The court decides to announce its verdict next week. In the next scene, we see DCP trying to send his son Nishant abroad for further studies by selling his house and using his retirement savings to pay the fees. On the way, DCP spots Nishant and warns him not to meet Teresa again, or he won't spare him. However, Nishant asserts that he won't go back there as he's searching for a job. In the following scene, DCP is honored at his retirement ceremony, where Harish motivates police officers about their duties. On the other hand, we see Nishant filing a petition in the High Court to reopen Teresa's case. DCP is bewildered by Nishant's actions, wondering why he's reopening this case after facing all the consequences. However, DCP and Advocate Thomas have no answers. Soon, news of this spreads like wildfire. Meanwhile, the court grants permission to reopen Teresa's case. Nishant repeatedly tries to meet his wife and children, but they refuse to see him. On the other hand, Advocate Thomas was troubled by the fact that Salam was the sole witness in this case, but now, after many years, his whereabouts are unknown. Could this be a trap set by Nishant? No one knows. Thomas seeks help from Harish. Upon this, both of them go to Salam's house, but Salam's wife refuses to disclose his whereabouts, claiming she doesn't know where Salam is. However, DCP Harish requests to call Salam. Now we see the courtroom scene, where this time Nishant is arguing against Advocate Thomas himself, informing the judge that he pursued his LLB during his jail, hence he can argue his case himself. Hearing this, Advocate Thomas and DCP are astonished. Now, extensive arguments ensue between them. Meanwhile, Nishant summons Salam, the sole witness in the case, to the witness stand for cross-examination. Everyone assumes Salam won't show up since he's been missing. But lo and behold, at that very moment, Salam appears in court. Now Nishant begins his question-answer session, where we learn that Salam has been to 6 different rehab centers in the past 7 years. This establishes that Salam has a problem with alcohol and spends most of his time in addiction. Nishant now calls upon witnesses who were with Salam on the night of the incident, proving that Salam was also intoxicated that night and darkness due to a power outage prevailed. How can the court accept witness testimony in such circumstances? As all this evidence unfolds, it seems like Nishant is telling the truth and was innocent from the beginning. Outside the court, we see a scene where DCP expresses suspicion towards Nishant. He questions why it's not headline news when a prisoner obtains such a high LLB degree, suggesting it's being kept under wraps, whereupon Advocate Thomas suggests that perhaps he has been planning all this while in jail for many years. Now, after the break, the court session resumes, where Nishant pivots away from his initial witness Salam and turns to another piece of evidence, the lab test. It is revealed that the lab had been permanently shut down some time ago. But why? Now, Nishant presents his 3 witnesses in court to explain the reasons behind the lab's closure. Witness number 1, Smitha Gijo, testifies that I had conducted a paternity test in this lab, and the report was incorrect. I did not trust this report, so I appealed in court against it, leading to another paternity test conducted in labs in Hyderabad and Delhi, both of which confirmed the correctness of the report this time, and I won the case. Nishant submits all these documents to the court. Now he calls witness number 2, whose name is John Samuel. John explains that he sold his property to a man named Somraj, but Somraj falsely accused him of providing fake documents for the property. Knowing he did nothing wrong, John sent the documents to this lab to confirm their authenticity. However, the result went against him, which he doubted, so he had it retested in 2 or 3 of the country's largest labs, all of which confirmed in his favor. Due to the trouble caused by the lab's incorrect report, he filed a case against it. Now Nishant presents this case's papers in court. He states that due to multiple incorrect reports, the lab was shut down. Now Nishant calls his final witness, named Murugan, who is actually facing life imprisonment. Here, Murugan confesses to having killed a lady, which led to his life imprisonment. He had committed a crime before that no one knew about. In fact, I committed Teresa's rape, shocking everyone in court upon hearing this. I continue to say that I saw her walking alone that night, couldn't stop myself, and raped her before fleeing. Later, I saw this professor arrested in the news for my crime, but eventually I got caught up in another crime and received punishment for my sins. Now I don't want to live a life of remorse anymore, so I confess to my first sin, to cleanse myself. Now lawyer Thomas can't counter this argument. Now in his final statement, Nishant tells the court that after Teresa's rape, the police couldn't find any clues for 6-7 months. Media pressure and public anger were escalating. On the other hand, this case was being transferred from DCP Harish's hands to the CWI. Due to this, under pressure, DCP Harish forcefully and dramatically solved this case, relying on a witness who was addicted to alcohol and a lab that always produced incorrect reports. Instead of catching real criminals like Murugan, they trapped a decent and responsible professor like me in this case, ruining my life for 7 years. My family, my dignity, my career, everything was destroyed. Now, Nishant demands compensation from the court for all this. According to the law, if compensation is considered, it should be taken from that officer who did not investigate the case properly and led to my punishment. Now Nishant appeals to the court that he should get this compensation from DCP Harish because all this happened because of him. Now the court declares Nishant innocent in its final judgment, stating he committed no crime. The court also orders DCP Harish to pay Nishant 70 lakh rupees for defamation, career damage, and other losses. DCP Harish seems stunned upon hearing this decision. Before leaving, Nishant tells DCP, "Sir, I told you that day you were wrong, but you didn't listen to me at all. I was innocent." Meanwhile, the media heavily criticizes the police for framing an innocent in this case. On the other hand, Minister Matthew takes advantage of this opportunity as well. He tells the media, "Just like this, I am too innocent, and DCP has falsely implicated me in a similar way." Now DCP is deeply worried because the money he had set aside for his son's foreign education will now have to be paid to Nishant as compensation. Over here, Nishant became famous overnight in the media, being hailed as a hero who fought his battle and won. Nishant's wife and children also stand by his side. Now, Nishant expresses a desire to work as an advocate in his future life. In the next scene, we see Advocate Thomas advising DCP that in such critical situations, he should send his wife and son far away because everyone is angry at him right now. However, DCP is not ready to believe he did anything illegal and still firmly believes Nishant is guilty. Therefore, he decides to keep his wife and son with him. But then some people from outside start throwing stones at DCP's house, scaring everyone inside. Now, DCP decides to send both of them away in defeat. On the way, some people attack DCP's car. In reality, these are men of Minister Matthew. Now, DCP fights them where he beats everyone, and the public makes a video of it. Soon, this video goes viral. Now people think DCP is beating up common people in frustration from losing his case. Meanwhile, Nishant continues to see success one after another. Now he has everything: family, friends, name, and respect, and also opens his own chamber. On the other hand, DCP's situation keeps worsening day by day. Now, in a state of intoxication, DCP tells his friend, Advocate Thomas, that he still believes Nishant is not innocent. He's up to something. He says, "I have fought and understood every aspect of all cases till now, and here too I am right. I will prove it." But now it seems Advocate Thomas, like others, has also become convinced that Nishant is innocent. In this state, DCP leaves from there. Upon returning home, he sees that someone has vandalized his entire house. His pet dog Drake has been hung in the garden. Seeing this, DCP breaks down. Now anger erupts inside him. He feels this is all Nishant's doing to settle personal scores. Because of this, he goes to Nishant's house, where Nishant was having a party with his family and friends. Now DCP starts a physical fight with Nishant in anger, but his friends intervene and save him. On the other hand, now we see DCP is completely isolated. Furthermore, Teresa's father also tells DCP that he should forget all this. Actually, Teresa's father also understood that Nishant was innocent, but DCP kept insisting that Teresa didn't get justice, Nishant is the culprit, and so on. Now DCP starts investigating again with Harish to prove his point. DCP first goes to the same jail where Nishant was held. There, the police inform him that Nishant was a straightforward man who in the early days of his imprisonment was beaten and harassed by other inmates, but later he earned respect from all the inmates when he befriended the biggest prisoner in the jail, Nari Suni. Since then, all the inmates in the jail started respecting Nishant too, because such a big prisoner like Nari Suni was on his side. The police officer tells him that Nishant was never seen as guilty, he was simply studying in the jail. In contrast, we see that in Nishant's chamber, 2 to 3 girls have come for an internship, and he happily grants them permission to internship. Now the DCP goes to meet Nishant's third witness, Murugan, who had taken Teresa's rape case upon himself. Here, Murugan repeats all those things again, claiming he committed this crime. Upon which the DCP asks him how much money Nishant gave you, that you are lying about it. Murugan says he didn't do all this for money. Actually, seeing Nishant, I felt sorry that the poor guy got stuck because of me, so I admitted my crime. Hearing this, the DCP gets angry because he thinks Murugan is still acting and twisting things, and he beats Murugan. Just then, the police officers come and save Murugan. As Murugan leaves, he tells Harish that you punished an innocent person, so admit your mistake. Upon this, The DCP Harish threatens that he will expose Nishant and others together. The DCP also says that your lie can be accepted by the court as truth and everyone else can accept it as truth, but not me. On the other side, Nishant is giving his interview to RJ Jockey, where he inspires people with his big talks. On the other side, DCP goes to Murugan's home to learn more about him. There, we find out that initially Murugan's family lived in a small hut, sustaining themselves with Murugan's petty thefts. However, after Murugan went to jail, the money stopped coming in. Murugan's wife, Rima, and his mother started doing labor work to make ends meet. Rima always had a habit of buying lottery tickets, and 4 years ago, she won 8 million rupees in a lottery, which allowed them to replace the small hut with this luxurious house. DCP finds it hard to believe. In the next scene, he goes to meet Salam at his home, where Salam says that he has tried several times to quit drinking, but he feels some people wanted him to remain addicted, as many times unknown people used to make him drink on their money, and that's why they used to send him to the rehab center. On the other side, Harish advocate Thomas says that I tried to catch Nishant in every way, but nothing did work. But I know Nishant's next target will be Arunima, who interns here. Nishant, like criminals, follows a pattern. In Nishant's case, that pattern involves smart and intelligent girls. So now he will pursue Arunima, and when Nishant attacks her, he will be caught red-handed. Thomas advises him not to do this, but Harish remains stubborn. For many days, Harish follows Arunima, and when he suspects someone has kidnapped her, Harish goes to save her. But upon seeing Harish, Arunima starts screaming because she believes Harish is the kidnapper. She runs out, and the police arrive there. Based on Arunima's statement, the police arrest Harish. Now, lawyer Thomas visits him in jail and says, "I've told you many times to forget everything and move on, but you didn't listen to me at all. Now, with what you've done, no lawyer will accept your case." Now, Nishant comes to meet Harish in jail. He asks Harish to sign a paper. He says, "From now on, I will handle your case. I will prove in court that after losing to me, you fell into depression and turned to alcohol, leading you to commit this crime. The court might let you off, but by doing all this, Nishant wanted to frame Harish instead. But he didn't know that Harish already knew everything about Nishant. Now we find out here that Nari Sunny was conducting illegal activities from jail, but he was having trouble settling his black money for quite some time. Since Nishant already had a PhD in finance and taxation, he easily helps Nari Sunny launder his black money, gaining Nari Sunny's trust. Now, with Nari Sunny's help, Nishant first shuts down the lab and then buys some fake witnesses. On the other hand, he also bribes Murugan and makes him his witness too. He had put the addiction of alcohol on Salam so that his credibility is over. Finally, Nishant wins the case. Now Harish tells Nishant that the cleanness with which you committed the crime with Teresa clearly shows that it was not your first crime. Last time I made a big mistake by not checking your background, but this time I found out everything about you. You committed your first crime in 1991 at Calcutta University, burning and killing a brilliant student named Sophia Seth in her own car. Later in Varanasi, while completing your PhD, another girl went missing from Varanasi University. No one knew where she had gone. Several years later, her skeleton was found during excavation, but to this day, no one knows who killed her. After hearing Harish's story of his committed murder, Nishant shares another murder story of his own. He says, "In my neighborhood, there was a girl named Asha Matthew. After raping and murdering her, I buried her, then planted a mango tree over her. Since then, both her brother and I would pick and eat mangoes from that very tree. It becomes evident from Nishant's words that Nishant is a dangerous psycho killer. After this, he tells Harish that Teresa would have met the same fate, but in the end, Salam came there. Still, what's the use of all this now because I am outside and you are inside?" Actually, Nishant knew that Harish was keeping an eye on him. So, leaving Arunima aside, Nishant targeted another girl, who was RJ Jockey, with whom Nishant had done a podcast interview, and kidnapped her, keeping her captive in Harish's house. He tells Harish that now your stay in jail is fixed because the girl's body will be found from your house. Upon hearing this, Harish gets angry and starts a fight with Nishant, but then police arrive from outside and separate them. After meeting Harish, Nishant returns to Harish's house and removes the cover from the interview girl's face. But here comes the climax scene of the movie, because the girl is not someone else, but she is Nishant's wife, Harita. At that moment, Harish and the other policemen also arrive. In reality, all this was Harish's well-thought-out plan. Harish says that by first drinking alcohol, I showed you that I had become addicted, so that when committing the next crime, all your attention would be on me. But you forgot that you were under constant surveillance by the Kerala police. Now, once again, the police arrest Nishant with all the evidence and present him in court. Teresa's father is also present here, where we finally learn that Teresa has indeed passed away. Therefore, Nishant faces not only Section 302, but several other charges, and along with Sunny, Murugan, and everyone else who supported Nishant, they all receive punishment. And thus, Nishant returns to jail once again, and here our story comes to an end. If you liked this explanation, please like. If you have any issues, please comment and provide feedback, and be sure to subscribe to this channel. Thank you very much.